Welcome to Beyond the Coverage. I'm Chris Horner. In today's edition, I want to talk about next year's Tour de France in 2025. We have seen 5 seasons of Tadej Pogačar at the Tour de France and basically highlighting all of them. The worst the kid has done is second 2 times to Jonas Vingegaard. In 2020, he had the battle against Primož Roglič, and of course, Primož Roglič blew up on the penultimate day's individual time trial. That allowed Tadej Pogačar to slip in the race leader's yellow jersey and win his first Tour de France. In 2021, he was so dominant that no one can handle the power of Tadej Pogačar. Primož Roglič crashed out and just wasn't there to give Tadej Pogačar a hard time. Jonas Vingegaard's form hadn't started to rise at that point in time to get up to where he can battle against Tadej Pogačar. So Tadej Pogačar won dominantly in 2021, but his team made mistakes. In 2020, his team just wasn't powerful. In 2021, his team was making mistakes, following attacks left and right all over the place, sending them up the road. But Tadej was just too powerful for everyone else. So a lot of people just didn't see those. But throughout the first week, throughout those first 9 stages, that's where UAE team members were falling apart tactically, sending guys up the road. I believe. Some other people will argue with me, but I believe 100% that was a tactical mistake, but Tadej Pogačar just overcame that with pure power, because pure power is what you really want at the professional level when you're talking about racing over in Europe, but tactics definitely can help out and can cost you Tour de France victories. And that's what happened when we started going into 2022, where Tadej Pogačar was still incredibly dominant when they went into the 22 Tour de France, but his team wasn't so solid. They were falling apart with riders being replaced before the Tour de France even began, and then they started falling apart throughout the Tour de France, where Tadej Pogačar was not left with a whole lot of climbing power once he made the mistake on stage 11. One of the most fantastic days of racing I've witnessed from the Chesterfield. But the mistakes that Tadej Pogačar made on stage 11 going up Col de Grenade, it started in the climbs before that, of course, but once he got on Col de Grenade and bunked, that cost him the race leader's jersey. And then Jonas Vingegaard raced tactically smart, always following the Slovenian left, right, and center throughout the next mountain stages, holding onto his wheel. Tadej Pogačar ended up crashing on Oudecombe, and then, of course, Jonas Vingegaard solid going up Oudecombe with Wout van Aert's help. That locked up that year's Tour de France, where Tadej Pogačar lost because of the tactics on stage 11. The lack of team didn't help much for Tadej Pogačar, but Jonas Vingegaard tactically was incredible. That's why I always bring in tactics. At some point in time, if the riders start getting really close to even, tactics will always help out and could push you the difference. And that's how Jonas Vingegaard has won 2 Tour de France in the last 5 seasons. Now, we go into the next season of 2023 at the Tour de France. Jonas Vingegaard was spectacular and what I would call pretty much even with Tadej Pogačar, but Tadej Pogačar having a little bit more explosiveness, was taking time bonuses, and of course, Jumbo-Visma, now Visma bike, making some mistakes throughout the way where they just tried to attack Tadej Pogačar too often going up the climbs, where Wout van Aert was waiting there for Jonas Vingegaard at the top when we're talking about Col de Telegraph. Then Wout van Aert pulling Jonas Vingegaard and Tadej Pogačar getting a free ride, where Tadej Pogačar stole about 25 seconds on that stage 6, I believe it was. Once we got fast forward into 2024, though, Tadej Pogačar this season, when we're talking about July, he looked fantastic throughout the whole race. Jonas Vingegaard looked fantastic too. And now mistakes I started seeing though from Tadej Pogačar was beginning on stage 4, where it was team tactics again, where we saw that dilemma where they're arguing going up the first climb of the 24 Tour de France. That cost Tadej Pogačar some time. And at that moment, that early on stage 4 of this year's Tour de France, you didn't know exactly what kind of fitness Jonas Vingegaard had. So when you're talking about losing 15, 20, 30 seconds on that stage 4 that Tadej Pogačar won, you said he lost. I believe he lost 30 seconds. I know he still won the stage, but I think he could have taken more time going up that final climb if his teammates were working a little more in harmony on that stage. Why do I bring that up? Well, that's what we saw in 2020 when he had no team. That was the problem. 2021, the team wasn't racing tactically smart. 2022, the team was having problems and falling apart. So when we're going into 2025, it's important the team tactics and the harmony within the team. Tadej Pogačar has to be perfect too, but throughout the 5 Tours de France that we've had here in the last 5 seasons, Tadej Pogačar has not been perfect. Even going when we're talking about stage 9 of this year's Tour de France on the gravel stones, Tadej Pogačar attacking just under 100 kilometers to go. That was a knucklehead move that he could have paid for and lost a ton of time on that stage. But instead, Remco Evenepoel, of course, chased him down. Jonas Vingegaard followed Remco Evenepoel. That neutralized that and saved the legs of Tadej Pogačar. We saw with about 25 kilometers ago when Tadej Pogačar still had legs left, attacking through the late stages of that stage 9. Once he was split off and he had Jonas Vingegaard in the hurt locker, but Jonas Vingegaard had an amazing team that's always wrapped around him throughout the 24 Tour de France. There it was Jorgensen that saved him and Christophe Laporte multiple times going through there. Now, what am I getting through? Why did I cover the last 5 stages, the last 5 seasons of the Tour de France when we're going into the 2025 Tour de France here on the Beyond the Covers? Well, the reason I did is because when you start looking at a Tour de France parcours, where you're looking at the 21 stages that they have listed in front of you right now, when you see those, Tadej Pogačar cannot get beat if his team is 100%, if he races tactically. The only weakness I see at all through UAE team members is that they don't have a Wout van Aert. Visma Lease Bike have a Wout van Aert. He has to be phenomenal. This year in 2024, of course, Visma Lease Bike were depleted multiple areas throughout their team with crashes throughout the season. COVID with Sepp Kuss, crashes with Dylan van Barley. Jan Tratnik, of course, had his crashes throughout the season. Jonas Vingegaard at the Basque Country, Wout van Aert at the Classics. They started wounded, and they still put on quite a show with Jonas Vingegaard winning stage 11. He won stage 11 because Tadej Pogačar, of course, made a tactical mistake, bonked a little bit. Jonas Vingegaard caught him and beat him in the sprint with the one-on-one sprint against Tadej Pogačar at this year's Tour de France. So mistakes were made at least 3 stages throughout the 24 Tour de France. So when you're looking at the 25 parcours, can there be a weakness for Tadej Pogačar? The only thing I can think of against Tadej Pogačar and UAE team Emirates when you're looking at the 25 Tour de France is going to be the first 6-7 stages where we're talking about crosswinds can come into effect because UAE team Emirates do not have that ace card called Wout van Aert. With Wout van Aert on the team looking after Jonas Vingegaard, he has a better chance of always being in the correct position. I can take you back to the 22 Tour de France where Wout van Aert won stage 4. Remember that one where he's flapping his wings at the finish and he's wearing the race leader's yellow jersey there? Well, they made a bit of a tactical mistake there, but so did Tadej Pogačar, because on that stage 4 of the 22 Tour de France, once they hit that last final bump coming up the climb there, Tadej Pogačar was out of position. He didn't have a strong enough team to always put him in the right place. He was out of position, had magnificent form on that stage 4, coming through the group, bridging all the way back up and minimizing the time loss he had. But Wout van Aert made a tactical mistake for Jonas Vingegaard because he didn't wait for his race leader's GC guy on stage 4. I know he won the stage. I know later Jonas Vingegaard won the Tour de France, but that stage 4 cost Jonas Vingegaard, we'll call it 15, 25 seconds on that stage 4. That might have been crucial had we not had that mistake from Tadej Pogačar. So again, everything throughout the last 5 seasons of the Tours de France, Tadej Pogačar's made a mistake. Jonas Vingegaard, I believe, has been a little bit more accurate with how he uses his energy and less mistakes. Has he made them? Of course he made them, and I highlighted one of them, of course, when we're talking about Côte Roche de Cambo. That stage, of course, that Tadej Pogačar gained 25 seconds on was a mistake from Jonas Vingegaard trying to drop Tadej Pogačar there on Col de Tourmalet. But the stage just before Tadej Pogačar blew up on, so they were trying to put the nail in the coffin right there on Tadej Pogačar. I don't know if it was a catastrophic mistake, but it was certainly a mistake. So again, when we're going into 2025, you look at that first week, you can't say on this mountain stage Tadej Pogačar will blow up. You can't say on this TT Jonas Vingegaard will drop Tadej Pogačar and gain time on Tadej Pogačar may gain time on Jonas Vingegaard or vice versa. But with the exception of the 23 Tour de France, stage 16 there with Jonas Vingegaard winning that individual time trial, that is the one stage that I cannot account for how much power that Jonas Vingegaard had. That kind of power there at the 23 individual time trial on that stage 16 was something magnificent. And if Jonas Vingegaard can bring that kind of form into the 25 Tour de France, well, Tadej Pogačar might have his hands full right there trying to deal with Jonas Vingegaard, especially if he has an on-form Wout van Aert. Sepp Kuss arrives on 100% form. Like I said, he had COVID this year. Jorgensen's level could still be coming up and up next season. Remember, this was the first season in 2024 where Jorgensen had arrived at the top level of the professional peloton. So if he continues to go up, that could be a big ace right there for Jumbo-Visma. But there's a couple other cards, of course, I've left off with Primož Roglič, who Visma Lease Bike let go last season, so now they have more competition and less strong guys to battle against Tadej Pogačar. Again, if I take you back to the 22 Tour de France on stage 11, it was Jonas Vingegaard and Primož Roglič that were putting pressure on Tadej Pogačar. And Jumbo-Visma, now Visma Bike, made the knucklehead mistake to get rid of Primož Roglič. Well, we'll see what happens in the coming year here in 2025 if Primož Roglič could keep his bike upright going into that Tour de France, because I still believe up here on Beyond the Coverage that Primož Roglič is the only rider that can go head-to-head with Tadej Pogačar if he's on form, if he doesn't crash, if he doesn't have injuries or sickness going into the 25 Tour de France. I believe he's actually on level with Tadej Pogačar because he has the same speed, the time trial ability, and he has the climbing ability like Tadej Pogačar. But of course, Jonas Vingegaard is there, and they've gotten rid of Primož Roglič. So now all three riders are going to be on different teams again. Now, of course, Remco Evenepoel's there, but Remco Evenepoel is not the type of rider that I believe can win the Tour de France with these three riders in front of him. First, second, and third on my favorite list up here on Beyond the Coverage is those three riders. Remco Evenepoel is the fourth, but Remco Evenepoel does have the individual time trial that comes early in the first week of the Tour de France. He could possibly get himself in the race leader's yellow jersey. But if Remco Evenepoel was to win the 25 Tour de France with all three riders, 1, 2, and 3 in front of him on 100% form, well then you know Remco Evenepoel's level has come up. And remember, he's just a kid. So any time when you're talking about some rider under 30 years of age, maybe even under 35, their fitness could always get better and start to come up and surprise us. But at this moment, when you're looking at the 25 Tour de France, Visma Bike need to focus on the first week of racing. They need to have Wout van Aert 100% on form. They have to hope that there's some chaos that can hold up Tadej Pogačar, and then the big guy, Wout van Aert, can do some amazing work like we've seen in years past at the Tour de France, and he can look after Jonas Vingegaard and gain some time. And keep in mind, with Primož Roglič gone, if Tadej Pogačar was to have a mechanical and he drops back on one of the first stages of the first 10 days of the Tour de France, well, you know, Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe is going to be on the front. Pseudo Quickstep's going to be on the front with Remco Evenepoel driving it too. And you know Visma Bike's going to be on the front, and it's going to be Wout van Aert up there. So the main thing that Tadej Pogačar, three-time Tour de France winner, he has to worry about is the first week of racing at the Tour de France. First 10 days. But first week of racing for us fans, because we know it's the first week, the second week, and the third week that all matters. One little oddity about this year's 25 Tour de France coming up is going to be the rest day comes on Tuesday instead of the Monday. So the riders have to get through the first 10 stages of the Tour de France before they can get that rest day. That's important because if one of the favorites were to crash early and they have to go 10 days instead of 9, it will make a difference. That rest day, if you've had a crash, does amazing things for the body to be able to recover on that day if the crash isn't too difficult. So keep that in mind with the Tour de France having the first rest day on Tuesday. A lot of riders who have crashed in the first week, and we all know there's a ton of crashes in the first week. This year's Tour de France should have some crosswinds if we're lucky from the Chesterfield anyways, because nothing's more exciting than watching crosswinds during the Tour de France. So if they have crosswinds, there's going to be a ton of crashes, and that rest day coming one day later at the Tour de France might have some big-time effect on how big the peloton starts after that first week of racing at this year's 25 edition. Either way, though, when you're looking at the Tour de France, you know Tadej Pogačar is the outright favorite, three-time winner. Jonas Vingegaard is the second guy to give him the most problems, and Primož Roglič, for the help of the cycling gods, please keep the bike upright and come in the Tour de France 100% on form so we can see that battle. Like and subscribe, and I'll bring you guys some more content later on.